And a howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome back to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV
Take the
and
picture
movie
off.
channel.
Take the picture off. There we go.
Ba-ba-ba-boom. Like that advertisement. The old podcast, of course. But good morning, everybody. And I guess
Hey,
good afternoon or something over there in the UK for once. Did it the wrong direction.
4 here. You
Daylight
completely
savings
threw
time.
me. I messaged going, so we started in half an hour, an hour and a half. You went, 5 minutes. What? What you talking about, Willis?
Oop. What you talking about, Willis?
Is that early for you? Only an hour and a half, you numpty.
Well, in my crazy mental defense here is I thought it is daylight savings time. I just calculated it the wrong direction. Oops.
Math was never your strong suit. So
Unless
you're
it's
measuring
green
out.
math.
Oh no, is that cocaine? This ounce is cocaine. It's a gram. You don't need an 8 ball. I don't know. Anyway.
I got no idea where this went off the rails. So early.
Early? That went really early. That went on the rails.
20
Hey,
seconds.
no more baby jokes yet, so we're at least doing decent.
Yeah.
But-
Elon Musked it straight into space. Anyway.
For an early start, we actually have some pretty damn cool news. I think we haven't really
Somebody has news.
been told too much about it.
I don't know what
I guess
the
I
hell's
should address
going on.
this real fast. Greg and I were in Good Springs last night. We are in Primm, Nevada, currently at the Buffalo Bills Casino. So if you see me in the next hour or so, come say hi. But probably not.
Oh yeah, it's your Fallout
Fallout
weekend.
stuff. Mm-hmm. Big Fallout event last night, where the actual game starts, Fallout New Vegas, and there are kind of some cool stuff around there. And I think this is going to be a place we tend to come back to every now and then. So good news, good fun stuff.
Good stuff.
But other good fun stuff, sir. You haven't let us know just yet.
Nah, I didn't want to tell you. Can't be asked. I know some stuff about James Bond as well, which I'll share in a bit. But I mean, you guys can get into the comments. Do you want to know the Stargate news, or do you want to know the James Bond news first? I mean,
I want to hear about your pregnancy.
I'm just fat, mate. Like that's so mean.
Is it going? I mean, is it going to be a girl Guinness or a boy Guinness?
I might make a little brown baby shortly, but that's a different thing. I'm on quite a high thingy diet at the moment. Poop a lot.
Oh God. Stargate news. Stargate first, please.
Right. Okay. I'm just going to tell the people. Yes, Geordie. Of course, Geordie wants to know. I'm going to say someone wants to know about James Bond. So that's me.
What we
we'll
think?
Talk about that in a bit because it's only brief. Because we're an hour and a half early, I have actually got a video on Texan Pulse where I say, in an hour, come and join us live in the video. And now you've completely fucked that because the video's live at 5. So in half an hour, this is going to drop on Texan Pulse as well. But never mind. So I have been chatting to a few of the people we get to speak to over at MGM and Amazon. And basically, Amazon dropped news that they have repeated. It's something they actually announced 2 years ago, that they were going to start doing more straight-to-cinema movies. But then we obviously had the strikes and the Hollywood contraction. And they've basically announced it again. They're going to be putting out 12 to 14 cinema movies a year from next year. This is also running in line with what we've been telling you for ages about them getting more studio space. That was all sort of coming online this summer and the calendar. So I immediately got on to the people we speak to saying, right, what does this mean for Stargate? Because we've been hearing about a potential for this movie. And basically 3 separate sources came back immediately and went, something will be announced this year. So it's, but there's more. The ha.
Ooh.
Our Mark Fergus may be involved, but now this isn't confirmed. So now we're going into rumor. So right, I can tell you that I can go as far as saying something will be announced this year on Stargate. It seems to be what they're doing. They've decided it's definitely on the list, but they're trying to figure out a calendar. So exactly when is not sure about. But the way it was explained to me was basically they've got to get a director, they've got to get a couple of actors on, so then they've got to figure out the schedule. When is everyone available? Then it'll go in the calendar, and then it'll thing. But they're in that stage of trying to figure out that bit before they can crack on sort of thing. But it's definitely going to be at some point, something will be announced this year. Mark Fergus, one of the people I speak to that's in more the legal side of things, came to me about a week ago and said that Mark Fergus is contracted to do a script for MGM. But we don't know what the script is. The two things he was able to say was it's a rewrite of something that's already been done, which we'll come back to in a sec. And the code name for the project, or his the thingy for it, is Osiris. So all we know is his Osiris movie, and that's what's on the contract. So it says that's quite a common thing that they'll put, just like it's like a code name to try and avoid stuff leaking. And if that is a code name for Stargate, though, it's the worst.
It's pretty blatant.
They may as well call it Gate Star.
Could it be more obvious? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Osiris, it's not Stargate, honest. but we don't know. It could be anything, to be fair. It could just be a random word they've picked.
That's actually Legally Blonde 3. Surprise.
It could be. But the things that's interesting is saying that it's a rewrite. Obviously, the Osiris code word sounds possible, likely, but it being a rewrite is because we had heard that the movie that was going into very early pre-production 2 years ago before the strikes, that was going to be filmed in Poland, was written by Mark Fergus. He's just left God of War, and we thought that might be to do something with MGM Sony thing, which we thought that maybe could be Stargate again. Because they were Sony, but he basically left for no reason.
Yeah.
And Sony were really, really nice about it. They were like, he's brilliant. We love him so much. But he is fired. But he wasn't even really fired. He just sort of went out. But the rumors we heard was that he asked to leave to do something else. But again, we don't necessarily know what that was. So it feels like things are lining up. Now, what's the question most people are then going to immediately ask? Come on.
When's it come out?
When's it come out?
Hard reboot or not?
Yeah.
I'm so desperate. Just give me something, man.
Well, out depends on when it goes in the calendar. If it's something that gets to pre-production this year, it'll basically take 18 months from when pre-production starts to potentially on screens. 18 months to 2 years. It'll take. Generally, pre-production takes 6 months, filming takes 6 months, and post-production takes anything up to a year.
Yeah.
If it's a lot of sci-fi, a lot of CGI. So, summer of 2027, if it gets announced really soon, I would put money on that we will start hearing San Diego Comic-Con poking it again a lot. How much you want to bet? So, we'll have to see where it goes, but I think they need to decide on the schedule first. And again, if they're doing 12 or 14 movies a year, that's a big step up from what they've been doing previously. So juggling all that, I imagine, is going to be interesting. And that's from next year. Yeah. So these are things that are already in production now, sort of thing. So it won't be out in 2026. It'll be 2027 at the earliest.
Yeah, it's realistic.
I obviously did ask about hard reboot. Because that's where we think they're going with it. And talking to my MGM Plus guy, that was what his opinion was. When he says just kind of went quiet. They were pushing for the TV series. Steve Wright was desperate, and MGM Plus guy was desperate to do the series. Really pushed for it. Tried to even cut shows out to make the budget, and Amazon just kept sort of going, no, okay, tell us what you're thinking, but never committed. Yeah. The last thing the MGM Plus guy said, it was with a different production company, and it's just they're just sitting on it. I don't know what's going on. And he's technically the guy in charge of it. He was technically the guy MGM Plus that was supposed to be running with it. I'm going to try and get him to agree to come on at some point, but obviously he's still employed there, so we'll see. Yeah. His opinion is that they'll do a hard reboot. And a couple of other people I've spoken to, their opinion is hard reboot. The one person that I've spoken to that's is a pretty good source on this. He's always been really good on this. He says they've always been going for that continuation, but they were always really strict on it, and they really wanted a proper continuation. They kept these are the people who kept saying, we don't want another repeat of Rings of Power, we don't want these things, so we want a really good continuation. Apparently they've softened on that as time has gone by, because they've said, look, we've basically tried. I know of at least 4 different serious times they've tried to do this, and they've not been able to and they've not been able to get an idea going that made sense, or they've not done something they're happy with. So it's sort of always gone to pitch, do a couple of scripts, never goes any further than that. I think that's partly because they were waiting for studio space. I think after the strikes, they very much went, we're not doing anything new now until we get studio space for it, because we're not renting massively expensive.
Excuse me.
So I think that's part of that. But I think it's partly just because they didn't quite get a storyline they were happy with. So what he said to me was he thinks it'll be what he called a soft continuation.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, because literally someone just asked, I believe, Stonewolf said, I was looking forward to a soft reboot or continuation. I was hoping just for the way you're saying everything, if it is Fergus and we do luck out and it's Fergus, maybe that leaves it where it feels like a reboot at the beginning, but then you start getting that sprinkle of character here, sprinkle of storyline here, and then you actually see it is a continuation, just not necessarily like hardcore necessarily.
Yeah. It'll be something that refers back to things, but doesn't necessarily, there won't be any legacy characters potentially, or there will be, but they'll be sprinkled in. Yeah. My worry is we'll get a Kurtzman style Star Trek where everyone says it's a continuation, but all the fans are watching it going, really? Because this seems very different. So that's more my fear. But if it's somebody like Mark Fergus and he gets a producer role or something as well, I'm hoping it'll be close enough that we'll forgive it. But but at the end of the day, Strange New Worlds kicks canon in the teeth constantly. But because the characters are so good, a lot of the fans forgive it. So I actually think even if Stargate did something that was a bit like, this feels a bit like another universe or something, the fans will forgive it if it's well written and good. We'll forgive it. We won't care. But yeah, I think it'll be some sort of, I think we talked about this even like 2 years ago when we thought it'll be some sort of hybrid, that it won't really be a continuation, but it won't really be a hard reboot either. It'll be some sort of, it'll be like, okay, it is a continuation, but don't worry too much about what happened before. This is a new show. So it'll be like a hybrid of the two sort of thing. And I think that's what they'll maybe try to do. Just do enough of a continuation that doesn't annoy us too much. But,
so it's not that they're not going to go back to, Daniel Jackson giving his dissertation on the Middle Kingdom, and then he's met with Catherine in the rain. It's not going to go back that far. It's just going to kind of,
that's the thing is, right now we don't know, mate. They might just go with a hard reboot. We don't know. What I'm being told is they're people's opinions that work at MGM and Amazon. They are straight up saying, we don't know what the plan is. We don't know what Mark Fergus has been told. He's rewriting the script that's in place, but we don't know what he's been told. Mm-hmm. So they could have told him, just do a hard reboot, rework what you've got. We're just going to start again. Or they could have just said, actually, mate, the chains are off. What would you like to do with it? And he's gone, or they could have said, like, yeah, we love this, but we don't like this, this, and this. Rewrite it. We don't know what's been said, but it could be a hard reboot. It could be just something they've gone, make it within the Stargate universe, and don't worry about canon. Just go with what you want.
So it could be the Furlings discovered humans.
Why not?
Hey,
and that they're evil, and that they are Ewoks.
Evil Ewoks. And all their fur is black.
Yeah.
Koala Ewoks
with red stripes.
But still, this is the most solid thing we've had in 2 years, really, since the strikes. We were pretty solid that we were pretty confident a movie was coming. Then it got delayed. We then were pretty confident MGM Plus were desperately trying to get a series going, and we're fighting for it, but never really got very far. This is the first time I've been told for 2 years now, really. Right, by the end of this year, at some point, you'll know that there'll be an announcement. It is happening. It's on the list. I think a good way of putting it is it's penciled in. They're definitely doing it. They're just not 100% certain when. And yes, Harris, there are ghosts in wherever you are.
What's going on? I'll mute while this little announcement's going.
Yeah. Well, I think I was done, wasn't I? But yeah, I think that's where we're at the moment. It's penciled in. They've just got to figure out when. But it's going to happen. And the announcement will come, like we've always said. It won't get officially announced until they've got a director, a lead actor, and they've got a script, and they know when it's going to production. So that's when it'll get announced. They're doing the pre-work now.
Yeah. The hard reboot, obviously scary. If Mark Fergus is in control still, slightly less scary because it feels like it could go into a soft reboot. The biggest positive I feel like out of that is, I know not everybody's going to agree with this one, but I'm pumped. They're going with the movie. And that means they are confident in Stargate and want Stargate to continue. That means at least, hopefully it's not a freaking hard reboot, but one way or another, that means they at least are putting their money where their mouth is and like kind of saying we have confidence in this and we're going to push it forward. And of course, TV shows are plausible after so, but this is it. It's worth being in the theater.
Yeah, and if it is a cinema release, which seems to be what I'm being told, this is one of the projects they're penciling in for cinema, that does also tend to suggest that it will get a decent budget. Amazon don't tend to skimp. Even on their straight to streaming, they don't tend to skimp. So, I mean, I was told the budget a couple of years ago when they were talking about the movie before, I was told the budget was roughly 80 million for production. That would be a healthy budget for something like Stargate. That would be a decent budget for a movie. They can do a lot with that if we haven't got big name actors and stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be good. When it gets announced this year, though, is anyone's guess. It really, because it just depends on Mark Fergus can finish the script, and then there you go, Alexis. But it depends on what they decide to prioritize. And they've got so much studio space, and as I said, they won't announce this until those three things are lined up. The other thing that happens is they could pick a director and it says, "Yeah, I desperately want to do this, but I'm not available until Blair." And they go
until 2027.
And that's what I mean. So this could, they're confident it'll be this year. It'll get announced. It's just when. But because they're in that very early stages, it's when. But they've got so many other projects. I mean, 12 to 14 cinema movies a year they're planning to do. That's a lot. That means there's going to be an MGM Amazon movie at least every month in the cinema. They've only been doing 2 or 3 a year up till now, so that's a big step up.
I was about to say, do you think they're actually in this first year? Do you think they'll allocate 12 to 14 films to actually come out, or do you think they'll kind of go back on it just a little bit and maybe 8 to 10 or 7 to 9?
Well, at the moment they're saying 12 to 14 in 2026, and that's next year. So that's what's planned.
Damn.
So I haven't had a chance to have a look at the what is actually calendared in for next year yet, but if you go on Wikipedia or whatever, they're normally pretty good on that, telling you what's on in production. So I mean, they have been doing a lot. I mean, we have been selling loose, but this, I do wonder whether this will then lead on to them. We're saying about turning MGM Plus into sort of like Amazon Prime movies, and then have Amazon Prime TV and Amazon Prime movies instead, because Amazon haven't increased MGM Plus's budget. And they've started cancelling shows or moving them to Prime. And the same with Freevee. Obviously they cancelled certain shows that they put on that were produced by Freevee and just moved them to Prime quietly. It does seem that they're restructuring this. So what I was told about potentially them doing that. But then if you think about it, if they're doing 12 or 14 movies, cinema movies a year, you can then move them on to MGM Plus movies, 3 or 4 months down the line.
I'm trying to get closer to a charger real quick.
So again, having like the MGM movies channel makes sense to me, rather than MGM Plus channel. So we'll have to see where that goes. But if they're, I mean, in the press release in the week, they were talking about that this isn't just a financial decision; it's like a philosophical decision. That they are like, we're a movie company and we want movies in the cinema, and that's what we want. And they've actually said as well, when we then stream them, they do better. So films that have come out of the cinema do better when they stream them. And I actually think Red One at Christmas is the perfect example of that. It bombed at the cinema, but they didn't care.
That was their whole game plan.
There was a game plan, basically. It was released too early. It was released in like the start of November.
Yeah, it was like November 10th, 12th or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Thanksgiving, maybe. What are you on about? But the plan was, no, because we'll then get it on Amazon Prime by Christmas and people will go nuts. And they did. It was the second most watched movie premiere in Amazon Prime's history.
So you're just saying that, now some of the streaming companies are just seeing the cinema as like an advanced marketing campaign.
Yeah. It's almost like an advert, almost like part of an advertising campaign.
An advertising campaign that you can make a lot of money from.
Yeah. Well, basically, if it breaks even at the cinema, they're happy. If the cinema basically covers the production costs, they're happy. Because it'll then go on the streaming, and it's where the streaming is where they're making the money. I know the streaming providers. I talked to a guy that actually does is a woman actually, PR and stuff, and she specializes in streaming companies. And the things she was sort of saying was like movies and things. Streaming providers, because they've got basically a regular income. TV traditionally, a studio makes a movie. And they're always really careful about their, when they do the very dodgy accountancy. So they're saying the movie never lose money because of the way they move the money around.
Hollywood accountant, baby.
They never really lose money.
Hollywood accountant.
Yeah. Streaming providers don't really care about that because they know how much money they've got coming in. So every year, Netflix basically has, say it's got 100 subscribers paying £100 each. Let's say, right, our budget is £10,000, and they'll just make £10,000 worth of stuff, and after that they're not bothered. And how well the stuff does in a way doesn't really matter as long as they're still growing. That's all they really care about. So they can put stuff on Prime, and as long as the viewing figures go up, they don't really care because they only spend the money they want to spend that year anyway. Because like this year we can spend £1 billion. And if all of those movies flop, they don't really care because they're like, well, that's money we budgeted, so we made that money off Prime anyway, so it doesn't matter. Obviously, they don't. They want big hits because then that grows the subscription base. But what I mean is, there's no risk. The studio puts money up, 100 million quid on a new movie, and if it bombs, they basically lost 100 million quid. Streaming providers, it's already paid for.
Very much so.
Also, good backup economic plan, because usually before streaming, a film would go to, cinema distribution, and then depending on how it went in studio distribution, then it may go to cable, and then it may go to into broadcast, and then it may get trickle down to VHS, and then later on DVD. And when DVDs came about, and so this kind of we've got this revenue stream already kind of banked. Just shoot the film, develop it, or not develop it anymore. Edit it, and you're off to the races.
Yeah, it's just I think the financial way it works has just changed, hasn't it? And I think it has took studios a while to catch up. And then things like obviously COVID and the cost of living crisis has confused things again. And I mean, I think, we spent $300 million on an Indiana Jones movie and it made no money. Disney loved the last Indiana Jones movie because they then put it behind a paywall wall, and it made them millions. So it did okay at the cinema, but it kind of bombed. And when it's bombed and shit, but Disney, they're going, we made a crap load of money. What are you on about?
I bought a copy off of Apple. I bought a copy for myself. Put it in my whole library full of all my Indiana movies. Watched them all at the same time, in the same order, in the correct order. It was wonderful.
I remember Kevin Smith talking about this years ago, saying that when he does films, they never do very well at the cinema, and they were sort of like, how are you allowed to keep making movies? And he was like, because they always kill it on DVD sales, video sales. They always do really well. Whatever we make at the cinema, we double on videos. So as long as they're making money, they'll keep make films.
Mhm.
And this is what it based on. As long as, but that's not really how it works anymore. Amazon Prime, they're going, well, we're making money. But the other thing is they're willing to lose crap loads of money for content, but
That's true.
Stopped now. They've pretty much realised that doesn't work.
Well,
They've got plenty of content, so they don't need to. They can put an old TV show on that hasn't been on for 20 years. I remember when like Babylon 5 ran on HBO, and it was the second most watched show for like 2 months when it was released that they had, and they were like, we paid nothing for it, and we just put it on, and people went crazy. So they can always get content.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. This is kind of making me think about just. We'll jump back into Stargate and how this can affect Stargate in a little bit, because I think it might affect it well. Honestly, Popcorn Power I think he commented something else as well, but he said, "Call me crazy, but I think the only reason cinema is can't speak. The only reason the cinema is an advanced marketing campaign because they spend 2 to 3 times the budget of the film on actual advertising."
Mm-hmm.
When does the advertising of a film stop now, especially with streaming? Because at a certain point, I don't think it ever does, because you want your movie or your TV show to hit the top 10, hit the top 10, hit the top 10, hit the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to do that unless you're marketing for it. And nowadays that typically comes in like play as you have a social media account for the film, or you have a social media account for the IP or something, like for Fallout or for something so on and so forth.
Well, I mean, there's also all of these film news sites that will say, oh, this film is never got any traction in the theater, but now it's got a cult following on streaming. And I see those stories all the time, and that's and I think a lot of these articles on blogs or news sites are paid placement. And it's just I don't, as long as the content is good and people will watch it, they'll keep going back. I mean, and going back to one thing concerning Kevin Smith. Is that when Quentin Tarantino, I think, had released Django Unchained, he said he's maybe got one more movie in him, and he doesn't know how he's ever going. I mean, because the cinemas and the production and the distributors take so much money. I mean, there's no money left, and no one's going to the theaters. And then he did Hateful Eight, and he kind of repeated the same sentiment. That it's just never going to change, and all of a sudden, now there was a Once a Time in Hollywood, which did really good did good in the theaters, really did good in streaming, and it's turned his. I mean, now, so he's still producing. I mean, he's got a series now called Bounty Law that he's the director of, and so because those mechanics changed. I mean, Quentin Tarantino, who was in the past just going to, I just can't do it. It's just, it doesn't make any monetary sense.
That's why he said he wouldn't do a Star Trek movie, because he said he's only got one film left in him and he didn't want to waste it on Star Trek.
Right. And I think he said the same damn thing about a 007 movie. He swore.
And Rambo. He wanted to redo Rambo with Adam Driver.
Rambo movie by Tarantino. Come on.
With Adam Driver as Rambo? 10 times out of 10, yes, please. Like.
We haven't had a good Vietnam movie in a long time. You know that? Anyway.
There is a Rambo movie in very early development, and it's not going to be Adam Driver.
It's not going to be what?
It's not going to be Adam Driver. It's Ryan Gosling.
Oh, that's right. Because Ryan Gosling has always said he was desperate to play him, and that's his favorite character growing up.
Sylvester Stallone has said that he's the one person to do it, but it is planned. So we'll see. It's been nearly going round and round in circles for a little while, but they're trying to get it done. Sylvester Stallone's been trying to get it done for a while. So that'll be. I actually quite like that idea. I quite like Ryan Gosling. Is that because I think he's a bit of a pretty boy, and I think it can work in like the they can work out in their advantage sort of thing. That he doesn't look like he should. the fact that he doesn't fit the role of how you imagine it, I think will actually work quite well. But anyway, we'll see what happens.
Maybe wander into town and not be so turned away like Rambo originally was, and it's like, oh well, what do you want?
War.
Not so much
I suppose they could have the Afghan war, because that was unpopular. So they can still do something. But
a popular war. Go ahead.
There's a few unpopular ones. On
this year,
James Bond, really quickly.
Yes, James Bond.
Old, and I think it actually started to sneak out. I think I saw something that was basically confirmed this as was released either yesterday or today, but I didn't actually read it. But anyway, what I was told was Mike Hopkins, which is Jennifer Selke's boss at Amazon, basically got to a point where they said, right, we've had enough. They want to do a lot with. They've got quite big ideas, Amazon, for Bond. Somebody said they basically, Mike Hopkins has said they're looking at what they're doing with John Wick, and he says, right, we want to do that sort of thing. So it would be they're trying to build a universe around it. So we got like the ballerina coming out, and they've basically also said that what was it we filmed? No
Time to Die.
No, the one it's the John Wick producers, but it's the guy.
Oh, Nobody.
Yeah, and basically nobody's sort of in the John Wick universe as well. So they're saying that this is what they kind of want to do, but the ballerina was what they were looking at. So we want to do like a Bond type of thing. We want female Bond spin-offs. We want just to focus on Bond. We want other characters and maybe to get their own spin-off movies and things, and into maybe a TV series
or 008 or something.
Sorry,
like a 006 or 008 or something like that.
Yeah, that type of thing. Or even it could be like Bond's Russian equivalent, or blah, blah, and they do a series based on it. But it would be TV series, movies, characters jump between the two, and that's what Amazon want to do. But Barbara Broccoli's been blocking it and desperately trying not. She doesn't want to. She just wants to see James Bond movies and maybe young James Bond and stuff. And they had their ideas. So apparently, Mike Hopkins in a meeting very loudly said, get her the fuck out. I don't care what it costs. And they ended up paying her nearly £1 billion to get her out. It was a lot to get Barbara Broccoli out. So,
damn, I mean, holy shit. Well, I mean, it's
yeah, it wasn't quite $1 billion, but it was near as damn it.
Well, I mean, she's definitely. How many years has that family been working? On that?
I mean, they started it.
I mean, it was. I mean, when did Fleming publish?
It wasn't Jeff Bezos. Secular Monk says Jeff Snyder said on Thursday. Jeff Bezos. It wasn't. This came directly from Mike Hopkins.
Damn. Oh, wow.
Jeff Bezos hasn't got any power at Amazon anymore.
She can afford eggs.
Yeah. Oh, she can now. She can get a whole chicken. She can afford it.
Okay, there are a couple, I guess, different things that come to mind. And I want to be happy about it, but I'm also terrified that we'll just get Money Pennies and Young Blofelds and just kind of BS the entire IP, where I'm shocked it's not worth more than $1 billion. Which makes me think that maybe the Broccoli's aren't completely stepping away, and they're still going to have some kind of producers, right? Because
you've got to remember, though, they're not. That's not $1 billion to buy Bond. That's $1 billion to buy, because MGM already owned Bond. They own the IP.
That was to get her off of their ass.
This is a bit like running back with Star Trek and Secret Hideout. The Secret Hideout produced, so anything that they do that's original, they own parts of the IP, sort of thing. This is the same sort of thing. Barbara Broccoli and the family own elements of the IP, but they don't own the IP. MGM does. So all they've done is Amazon have had to pay Broccoli to go away. That's all they've had to do. Apparently, a lot of the figures that have been bounded around are not quite true, but not far off. It is best part of $1 billion.
Okay.
It wasn't 1.4. It was less than that, but not a lot.
Right.
And it was to wrestle creative control away from Barbara Broccoli. But it wasn't to buy the entire. If you're buying the franchise, say somebody wanted to buy Bond from MGM, then yeah, it probably would cost 2-3 billion because it's $1 billion. You know, it is a valuable commodity, but it's not. It's not the full thing. Is what I'm trying to say. It's just to basically make Barbara Broccoli go away.
Do you think that's buying her out of her share, or do you think that's taking control away from her, and she's still going to want her name as like a producer credit on all the following bonds?
It's taking her off as producer credit. She'll have nothing to do with it.
Oh, interesting.
And this is something, a deal like this with that much money. It's just she's done with everything. She takes the money that she
will no longer be a producer.
I mean, like Casino Royale was published in 1953, and the family has been working at it for quite some time, and that's just, hey, you've done it. It's like, you know, it's not like Lucas, you know, sold Star Wars to he still has some sort of voice.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for this, because she was never, you know, I don't think she's got any writing credits. Does she? I don't think she's got any.
No. The Broccoli's, but because they've produced it from the get-go.
Right.
And it's they own. They said they don't own any of the IP. It's a bit complicated. Somebody did explain it to me once, but it's complicated. But they own certain elements of the creative control of it, and they're contracted to it, sort of thing. But also anything beyond the books that was done original, they sort of own. But MGM own James Bond as a name. They own the book. They own the movie rights to the books. And they own the movie rights to the character, the intellectual property of the character. And now they own full creative control as well, because they paid. But yeah, with a lot of money.
Well, okay, so the Moneypenny and the Blofeld stuff would be scary, but popcorn power, like we brought up that one comment, I think has a good point where they don't need to just toss any and every character that they can at the wall, see what sticks.
Bond is TV series or something would be interesting. No, I think I could see that. I can't see it as a movie, but as a TV series or something.
No,
I could see that.
Well, maybe like training. I think they have to be very, very, very specific. Sarah and I were talking about it. I think we just mentioned Bond or something, and then like an outpost or something like that. It's the most well-handled IP on the face of this planet. There's not been an IP that has been handled better over the course of time. They make sure a movie only comes out every 3, 4, 5 years. They're very specific with it. One Bond at a time, so on and so forth. This terrifies me for that aspect of it. And that's why I'm kind of like, TV show? I do not want a Moneypenny. I do not want Blofeld. Anything like that is straight up BS, in my opinion. And you could make it great. Good writer, good showrunner, you can make anything good. But we've seen like Wheel of Time, Rings of Power. I don't think they're going to be able to do something like that. If they're going to do new characters, they have 00 to 006. There are for sure at least 6 special agents other than Bond. Let's hang out with them. If they want to do that, it's cool.
Well, I don't know. It
would depend on the idea.
One of the things that comes to mind when it comes to like spinoffs like 007 is how the TV show Pennyworth, following Alfred Pennyworth, the butler of Batman, and his origin story.
That's what came to mind when I thought about Moneypenny.
And so when I first heard of Pennyworth, I mean, the biggest backstory I think we got was during the Chris Nolan films, about Alfred. When he's talking about, when he was in the jungles and some guys just want to watch the world burn. That was a really good line, and it's some bit of a backstory to Alfred. And I think Pennyworth really filled in a lot of that, and I think they used it well creatively. And I think you could do that with definitely with 007. We've got a string of characters that was in the whole film, and let's see, I had the string of characters that he had developed. I mean, there's Bond, there's M, there's all sorts of villains, and like
an M prequel. You could do M when M was a 00 or something like that.
Yeah.
They will do prequels. No, they will. They will do something set in the 60s. I'll almost guarantee they will do something set in the 60s during the Cold War. That will be Bond thingy. I would put £1 million on that right now. because that sort of thing, that sort of nostalgia thing, Harris, is popular. People love it.
People are also tired of it, and
Well,
I haven't seen Pennyworth, and Pennyworth is supposed to be really, really well done from everything I've heard, but nobody watches it. It seems like nobody watches it, and what
it's not in
it's
production anymore, is it? Didn't they do like five seasons and it's over? Is it?
yeah, but still, while it was airing, nobody watched
it didn't
it.
tear up.
Nobody's,
Yeah, it wasn't tearing up trees, to be fair. But,
and nobody's. It hasn't. I guess I don't know if it's good enough to go back and watch. I'm sure it is, but it's not something that's so good that people have been clamoring to go back to it after the fact. So what has it done? It's diluted the Batman franchise. It's diluted the product. Damien brought up a really good point. Whenever I guess I was bringing everything up, was you can't eat Christmas every day, Christmas dinner every day. It stops being special, and that is exactly.
Oh, I can eat Christmas every single. I can eat Christmas for Valentine's Day. I can, of course, I've got a refrigerator full of pizza.
Yeah, there's a reason why me and Stormy are a little overweight. Christmas pudding every day, baby.
Give me that ham and turkey, man. Oh yeah.
I worry that Amazon look at Disney longingly. They look at what they've done with Star Wars and the MCU, and they go, "Oh, wish we could do that." But Disney are there with Star Wars, going, "Let's wring some more blood out of this fucker. Come on."
MCU too.
Same with the MCU, and I think Disney have learned their lesson that more isn't always better, and they have dialed back a lot. About 18 months ago, didn't they? They sort of went, "Oh, we're doing too much."
Born Again is really proving that, thankfully.
Oh,
and I think, and since they dialed it back, I think quality is getting better.
Yeah, it has, definitely. Well, the CGI was getting so dodgy because they were rushing. So yeah, they seem to have learned their lesson. But Amazon, I'm hoping they're not thinking the same thing. But I could see us having a James Bond series where before he was a 00, maybe set in the 80s or 90s, say, when he was a commander, or when he was in the Navy. I could see some sort of 1960s prequel. I could see obviously the Prime Bond. I could see there's some sort of, like you said, spin-off thing. I could see a Russian spy movie that's like the equivalent to Bond sort of thing, that even James Bond might even appear in little bits sort of thing. And I could see, I could see lots of, I could see them building a universe and having lots and lots of ideas. I don't like the idea of doing prequels. I wish they would just keep it contemporary. I like the idea of a young James Bond, and I know that's what Amazon were pushing for like 2 years ago. They wanted to start, that they were going to do a trilogy plan, and it was going to start with Bond still in the Navy, and the trilogy would end with him becoming a 00, and that would be the first trilogy. And they were talking about, we want a 00 that we've never seen before, and and I actually quite like that idea. I like the idea of how the bloody hell do you become a 00? Do you know what I mean? It's like, how'd that happen?
Got to kill 2 people.
I like that. I just wouldn't want it to be 007.
Well, no,
it doesn't have to
I could see, as a writer, me thinking that if somebody comes to me and went, that's the 3 films, you go from that to that, I would be like, yeah, you could sink your teeth in that. You'd be like, I've got, that was just ideas just run through my head immediately. Like, that's interesting. And
I'd still rather watch Kingsman.
Is that right, Davey? Please be true. If you're lying to me, Dave, I'm gonna fucking kill you. If Dave's lying, I'm back. I need him banned from the channel.
Well, I think you got, if you start out with Bond and
oh, my back. Oh shit.
While you suffer in pain, I'll continue. If you go, if you start, James Bond back, at the beginning, like during the height of the Cold War in the 50s, from the Navy, doing secret Russian or Soviet submarine shit and all that like that. I mean, and I think enough time has passed where no one really knows what the fucking USSR was all about, and so it would be an opportunity to. I mean, there's a lot of stories there that people just. I mean, I'm an old fart, and I remember, but not every. I mean, people born today will have no clue what the Soviet Union was and what a threat it was, and so I think there's a lot of stories there to tell. There's always stories there to tell.
I could see. Somebody just said James Bond sitcom, and that's obviously a pointed joke at Star Trek. I'd quite like to see a Q series, right? Or even just like a one-off special, but almost like a comedy. And it's basically just Q designing all these things and then melting down when James Bond breaks it. I think that could be quite funny. But you almost like do like a one-off special or something, or like a short. Sometimes they do these shorts as like advertising things before a movie.
Christmas special. It's got to be a Q.
Marvel was doing it, weren't they? I'd almost like to see that, just like a little special, and it's just Q, and he's just so proud of this thing that he's built, and they say James Bond's having it. Oh, something. I think there's a million things they could do with it. And yes, it would be cheesy, but it would be a bit of fun. I wouldn't do it as a movie or a series, but as something online just before the film comes out, that could be fun. There's lots of things they could do would be fun. But
the special might even be much on that. It's just, it goes back to dilution for me there. That immediately dilutes James Bond. That takes out 70 years worth of legacy, and it's like, all right, here you go.
Now, whatever we get is going to be starting again. When they killed Bond, that was done very on purpose, knowing that whatever's coming next is a complete restart. In theory, all of the Bonds previous were supposed to be in universe. It was not a new Bond each time. It was sort of like just this James Bond. And I mean, they kind of hinted a couple of times that the Daniel Craig version of James Bond was supposed to be him starting as a young Bond and ending as quite an old, past it Bond thing. And that was basically, he was supposed to be past it all the way through, wasn't he? Killing him has basically meant that whatever we get now is a complete new beginning for the first time with Bond.
Would you like the new beginning to actually be a new beginning, or maybe, hey, this is like a new starting point, but kind of use the soft reboot, and that's kind of that kind of categorization or whatever.
Well, that's why I like their idea about seeing Bond in the military, starting in the military. And that's why I like that idea, because it is a complete, and we've not seen that story before. That's the point. It would be new. We've not seen it.
We've seen Kingsman, and I just feel like that would be watching Bond do less cool things before he gets to do the really cool things.
I don't know. It depends what he does in the military. If he's in the Navy.
Yeah.
You could almost do like his first movie. It's like a Crimson Tide movie or something.
Well, I was getting ready to say it's, it starts to become, real Tom Clancy-ish.
He's got to do something to make him stand out, doesn't it? Then the people at 00 notice him. So he's got to do something pretty ordinary.
If that's the case, I guess the question I guess I was trying to get to there was, is James Bond an actual name, or is it a moniker? Is James Bond the 007 moniker in name sense? Is that are all these people actually named James Bond? Do we just see a new iteration of this person? Reborn.
In the novels, it was always the same character, the same guy.
It's supposed to be the same character.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see a 007 with a completely different character from the 60s. I think if they do a 60s thing and it's 007, it needs to be a completely different character. Because James Bond has to be contemporary.
Yeah, I mean, because the I think originally there was like there were 10 there were 10 00s or 9 00s.
I think it was 9 00s. Was
and they were all the best of the best of the best of the best. And when one died, I'm trying to remember, they would suspend that number and then reassign it to a different agent later on down. And they'd always have this group of 9 guys or whatever. Maybe they all became ring race. I'm not really sure.
I'd like to see it go more towards the actual license to kill bit as well. Because James Bond really was just spy movies. But he isn't a spy. He's a spy with a license to kill, which is different. It's basically a spy where there's no rules. I'd like to see him lean in a bit more towards that, really. If they're going to make it a bit more realistic as well. And a bit more, because we've got so many spy series and movies things now. They really need to lean into the bit that makes James Bond different. Yeah, there are no rules.
And that was why Fleming limited it to such a small group, because these were, I mean, Jamie, you could probably explain this more concerning British culture, but it was such a radical thing to go kill somebody that Fleming wanted to narrow that down to where it's an elite group, and they had been trained to the point where they could make the decision of being judge, jury, and executioner in a flash.
Most militaries in the world have kill squads. Basically.
Special forces,
No, I don't even mean special forces, mate. I mean people that commit assassinations.
Typically, those were CIA in the United States.
Yeah, they would be. I mean, they would be born under thing. They would be ex-military. There are people that are assessed as being basically having psychopathic tendencies, and they get kill squads. Most militaries in the world have that. Israel don't even try to hide the fact, but most countries hide the fact because it's illegal. It is illegal to murder anybody. It goes against international law. Having James Bond goes against international law. You're not allowed to give somebody license to kill. So but every country has teams or people that if there's something and you want somebody took out, that they can do it.
And usually it's some group in their foreign services, like in Britain, it's MI5. That's why Bond is a part of MI5. And all of our guys are all in the CIA. That's our version of it.
It would be even an organization within an organization.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely with the most recent Bond movies, M is the head of MI5. The double O's would be a very small part within MI5, and they really would be the black ops, the wet work people, the people that nobody else talks about. I'd like to see that a bit more because Bond is just a spy in the James Bond movies most of the time, and in reality, it would be a lot darker than that. MI6. I don't know, it is MI5. Is MI5 the British? I always mix it up. Is MI5 the
yeah, they're right.
MI6 international. So MI5 is like our FBI,
mm-hmm.
and MI6 is like your CIA.
Yeah, and I think that's why M is allowed to lead it with the moniker M versus like, oh yeah, here's our FBI, and it's not like going through the process of everybody knows who that director is over here, and I don't think many people could talk about who the CIA director is.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it sounds like obviously military intelligence in this country. But yeah, MI5 military intelligence works on the domestic. MI6 are international, basically.
You know what? I guess we don't need to go jump into the political aspect of everything. Obviously, Bond does have some politics, though. But who's to say? Who's to say what they'll actually end up doing and writing? But if I had to guess, they might go the Top Gun route, where it's like, oh, bad guy in snow that way.
That's what they have to. Well, Bond have got a perfect way of doing that, and it's what they did with the last movies, isn't it? Really, it's Spectre, an international criminal organization that doesn't really have a country, and if they want to get around it that way, but to be honest, that's what Bond has always had. Really, it was always Spectre, Russia, China, things. They were always sort of like in the back,
in the periphery. They're getting weapons from China. They're getting weapons from the Soviet Union.
It's generally
it was always
Spectre that was at the heart of it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So Blomfeld.
The Blofelds.
Anyway, and yeah, the Russian stuff was always in the background. A lot of the time, the Russians were helping us. If you think about the Pierce Brosnan movies, it was the Ruskies that they were helping. So yeah, anyway.
That was I think the U.S. and the U.K. trying to get some goodwill back after the Cold War kind of era of life. It's like, hey, we're okay. We're good.
Yeah, and we always know Roger Moore was getting laid by a Russian asset.
Oh, yes.
Yes, they were KGB spy.
Pierce Brosnan was banging everybody that walked as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
No more foreplay.
Timothy Dalton had the chick with the cello. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess still, I'm just thinking about it all. The dilution still scares me a little bit. Someone mentioned that, like, joking about the Q, like, comedy aspect. That's just Inspector Gadget. I mean, and the young Bond is just Kingsman. Like, we already have such great franchises that are fully fledged franchises from these ideas.
Yeah. I mean, Kingsman is a James Bond
Knock on.
You know,
And I'll be honest, I'd rather watch a new Kingsman movie over a James Bond most of the time.
Really, I just can't get in. I mean, the first one was good when it
one's good.
discovered Eggsy, but it
Terrible.
was just.
The second one's fun, but I like the prequel.
The Kingsman, the prequel, was excellent.
I like that one a whole bunch.
Really good. Proper acting as well.
Oh,
A bit long. Goes on a bit.
It was a little bit long. Rhys Ifans as Rasputin.
Yeah, he was brilliant. That could have been 2 films for me, The Kingsman. It felt like 2 films. It's got everything before his son dies and everything after his son dies. It almost feels like his son dying should have been the end of the first film. Something. But I loved it. I thought it was a great film. I loved it. There is going to be a sequel as well, so I look forward to that.
Good. Yeah, because Argyle just wasn't up to par, sadly.
Argyle was terrible. Really
fun
bad.
to look at, and that was about it.
I didn't even want to look at it that much. But yeah, so anyway, it's a bit of a recap. James Bond, we're going to get a lot of, and Stargate, we're going to get a movie, and it's going to happen. It is. We're just waiting for the official announcements, but 3 different sources have told me basically the same thing. It's penciled in. It's when, not if, but it will be a movie.
They filled in the
right over at MGM Plus, which is crying. It's like, well, and then it'll be a TV. I imagine it'll be a TV series to follow, because that was always the plan that we heard of before.
I get him being upset, but also, I'm a half glass full kind of guy most of the time.
Well, if they do this thing with MGM Plus, basically becomes MGM Movies, MGM Prime Movies, and then the TV series will go straight to Prime, and that'll make a lot of people happy, because that was the thing that we were saying, like, look, they're really pushing for it to go in MGM Plus, and we get millions of comments going, I'm not paying for another bloody thing, and they didn't want to. So if Amazon do it that way, I think people will be quite happy. A movie followed by a TV series straight to Prime.
Well, that's kind of where I think Mike Wright could look at the not Mike Wright, Steve Wright, whatever his name is. I always forget. Could look at the glass half full.
Can we at least get Chuti Gatto to play Teal'c? Russell T Davis' showrunner.
Can we ban Jay from the channel? Because that was such a horrible.
Yeah, I didn't have to say anything though, did I?
We all knew it immediately.
Say a word. Just giggle.
Wow. I thought my idea of a Q Christmas special was bad. No, Jay says, "Oh, I can do better than that." Shit, Stormy. Give me a few minutes.
Austin Powers, Scott Evil needs his day of villainy.
I need another Austin Powers. I love that franchise.
Would you rather Austin Powers or Johnny English?
Austin Powers.
I agree. I love Johnny English.
I did like Johnny English, and I love.
I still haven't seen the new one.
Rowan Atkinson.
He's amazing.
I forgot his name. Who's the guy who plays Austin Powers? His name's
Mike Myers.
In my head. Mike Myers.
Mr. Shrek.
He's had a bit of surgery or something. He looks a bit weird. I'm watching him on Saturday Night Live, like, because he's playing Elon Musk now on Saturday Night Live, and he's like, legalized comedy. It's actually a really good impression. But it's
because he's looked weird since Bohemian Rhapsody. Not weird.
Yeah,
different.
I think he's had a lot of Botox or something. He looks weird.
I think so.
And he's gone a bit mental as well. But guys, anyway, sorry, I'm going to have to cut it short because my back's starting to hurt. So I think looking around a little bit earlier has done me in. So, but yeah, have a chat about the thing, and the video talking about what I was talking about is on Tachyon Pulse now. And where I say go to the live in an hour, ignore it and blame him.
Arnold, thank you so much for the kind words.
Who said something nice?
He did say something nice.
Anyway. But guys, thank you so much. I will see you next week. We will be talking. We need our CGI movies and TV shows for the awards next week.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Have a good day. See you later.
Bye.
Yes, see ya. And feel better. That's not fun. That is not fun.
Not fun at all.
Yeah.
So this week I haven't really watched anything except Star Trek movies. I started with the movie Star Trek the movie, and then worked my way up, and I just wrapped up on Insurrection. That's where I'm at in my weekend binge. That's
a Star Trek movie?
Yeah. Star Trek Insurrection, yeah.
I'm not familiar with all the names. I know Nemesis and like Khan and stuff like that, but Insurrection. I'm working my way. I wanted to do some Enterprise this week.
Insurrection was it was another one of those Star Trek stories where you can see the fringes of the Federation not being the good guy.
Oh, okay.
Not to give away, I don't want to spoilerate or anything, but it's kind of like that.
I like it when they do that kind of stuff. Real quick though, Monk, not today. We had some fun news, so we're gonna just put a pause in it and put a pin real quick, and next week.
Yeah. We had no idea this was coming down the pike. It's totally gonna be something different,
which is good. And the fact that 3 sources cooperated kind of leads a little.
Yeah, that's always strong.
Heart to it, you know. Please. So
here's what huh?
Was that all you watched?
That was it, dude. That and a lot of videos on statistics.
Sounds about right. I don't think I actually went to go see any movies this. Wait, no. Hold up.
I'm holding.
My most anticipated film for the year. I don't know if it 100% lived up to the hype, but that might be just because I have such high regards and respect for Bong Joon-ho and his filmmaking. Mickey 17 was awesome. Really solid. It was a bit odd. I obviously this movie was made a couple years ago, and Mark Ruffalo is portraying a certain somebody essentially, and that is the only thing that kind of takes you out of it. He at least goes balls to the wall with it and gives you a performance, like a true performance. But we don't need every freaking politician in a film or TV show to be the one bad politician that everyone wants to talk about all the time. Like, okay, we're going to escape from all that. Like, have some allegories, sure, but all right, okay, come on now. Outside of that, the film it's so interesting. It's so weird. There's so many little points throughout that you're almost I wouldn't say you start getting tired of different parts of the film throughout, because you're not ever getting tired, but these different points pop up and they intrigue you again. It's like, okay, this is interesting. I kind of see where it's going, and then you're, oh, okay, well I see where that is probably still going, but now there's this in here, and now there's this in here, and there's little smaller elements that keep happening, and it's just really well done, masterfully made by Bong Joon-ho, of course. I still would probably watch Snowpiercer before it. Snowpiercer is just so damn good, but this is probably my 3rd or 4th favorite Bong Joon-ho outside of Parasite and
oh wow,
Snowpiercer. Memories of Murder I haven't seen, but that's always supposed to be really good. I really enjoy Okja with Jake Gyllenhaal as well, but this is a little bit better. It's great, and Robert Pattinson. I don't want to keep harping on the Oscars this year, but if Nora wins as many Oscars as it did, I don't know. Right. This movie I wouldn't normally say is Oscar worthy, but if frickin' Nora can win as many Oscars as it did, give Mickey 17, 15. It's Robert Pattinson he shows how damn good of an actor he is.
Right.
I need to watch it so bad, Monk. And Naomi, I can't say her name. Naomi Aki's really good as well. Robert Pattinson does very, very well as 2 separate characters and the same character at the same time. He does it's because it's a clone of himself, obviously, but with a different personality trait. Essentially, every time you're reprinted, you're still you. Obviously, you have the same memories, et cetera, but that personality trait might be stronger. A certain personality trait might be stronger here and there, and that leads to a little bit of a differentiation in the Mickeys, which is nice. I won't spoil anything else or give you anything else, but it's so good. Stephen Yeun isn't in there a whole bunch, but when we get our old Glenn popping up I love seeing Glenn whenever I can, you know, and Invincible. He's Mark too. Dude's having a great few weeks. Outside of that, I think watch a little Stargate just in the back of playing cards. I don't think I've seen anything else.
It's been a light week for me.
I've had a roommate move out. It's just been a week and a half.
There's something you said, and I was just thinking about the history of film when presidents were depicted as competent. I think anytime we do a film in World War I, World War II, the president is featured as a competent character.
Yeah.
I think when we're doing something around the moonshot, I think Kennedy's always portrayed as competent. But dude, I'm trying to think of some other instance when the president was, I mean, a movie, not television series. But
yeah, I think Nixon onwards.
Who? When?
Nixon onwards, everyone's kind of like, screw off.
Well,
you know?
Fucking Nixon, man. Jesus.
Oh, of course. But even Jimmy Carter, as he's useless.
Has he ever been in a movie? Has Jimmy Carter been
if they have, they talk about him like he's the president, and because he was a nothing burger as a president. So it was kind of like
the Iranian hostage. Was it Argo?
Argo, yeah.
They even he. I don't think he was even tangent. I mean, it was just.
Yeah, well,
I think they meant the Canadian Prime Minister was probably a character, but I don't know. I don't know for sure.
I'd have to watch him again. It's been years. I don't think. I think probably Gerald Ford. Yeah, I think Ford is maybe the only one that's been portrayed okay, and that's just because there's not been much about him, and he was also a little bit of a nothing burger president, but more like, all right,
he's a one-termer, and he got the job in really uncomfortable circumstances.
I think him and Carter are probably the best portrayed, but also they are kind of nothing burgers and kind of just get shoved under the rug. Where if it's a Nixon or a Reagan or a Clinton or a Bush, you hone in on like the BS of them. You're like, okay, Reagan was an actor and was a little silly at times. Nixon, you know, like
was Ford who? Let's see, Gerald Ford. What movie could he have? I'm sure.
I can't think of any. Honestly, off the top of my head, at least.
Yeah.
And of course, Clinton, all the people focus on is the sex scandal. And Bush is just Bush. He's just a silly guy. So they focus on that.
Okay. So there's a lot of films with Bush in it, you know, from you know, the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War.
Josh Brolin.
Yeah. People, title,
Spaceballs, President Screw. You know, not in every movie, of course, because he is just so modern that a lot of like just jokes, and he leans into jokes and plays with them. But Obama, at least, has been portrayed as a strong president, at least. And hell, I don't think any of the presidents in the last 30, 50, 80, 100, the entirety of any presidency ever has really been all that great. But at least he was a presidential guy. He came off as the president, and people respected him for that. And I think that comes across in TV and film.
Who? Which one?
Obama.
Oh yeah. I found one instance of Gerald Ford. He played himself in an episode of Dynasty.
Played himself?
In one episode, 1983, he was in Dynasty. So yeah, let's just scratch Ford off that list. And of course, that's also a TV series. I'm just trying to focus on, you know, cinema that they've been, you know, portrayed. And if he's playing himself, that's not really a portrayal. He's just being himself. And I'm pretty sure he would play himself as being an asshole or incompetent.
Juliet says 3 films about Jimmy Carter.
Is there anything about Jimmy Carter?
Yeah, Air Force One is the last movie that like I can think of. Of course, there's plenty of freaking movies since then that have portrayed strong, well regarded presidents, so on and so forth. But just ain't nobody ever gonna beat Harrison Ford on that one.
Right. And he was just portraying himself. I mean, I guess when, you know, the thing I'm focusing on, when was an actual living American president played as incompetence or as a competent character. Not going to the movies that they had a character in where the president wasn't playing is like films dealing with World War II and the moonshot. Jimmy Carter, I think, was in an episode of Home Improvement.
Oh, that's actually great.
1994. I guess he was building something.
He kicked it off. He wanted the man cave in the backyard to be the White House.
Oh, so I see.
Actually, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I don't think I've watched too much outside of that. Mickey 17 totally suggests TV-wise, Invincible. Oh my God. And I don't know if y'all are big Invincible people or not. If you want to watch superhero anything, Invincible is it. It is. I was talking to somebody this past week where Invincible is a little bit gory, and I think was that on Wednesday? And gory is kind of wild in certain things like The Boys and stuff, but this Invincible is not like provocative with it. And whenever they do a lot of gore, it's to further a point and push in a point. And there are certain bits that are kind of hard to watch. It was Justin. Justin doesn't watch a bunch of gory stuff, but he's such a comic book guy. We were trying to get him to watch it. Y'all should totally check out Invincible. It is so intense. So intense. We need more of The Boys. I don't know. After that last season, I'm not convinced it's going to be all that great. It had inklings of goodness still. And it was just like, okay, focus on the story. Don't focus on the real world aspects of what you want to sprinkle into the story. Sprinkle that stuff in there, but focus on the story. And hopefully season 5, they do that. Hopefully Gen V season 2 ropes in better with this new season than Gen V season 1 did with it, because it barely roped in at all. But yeah, give me more Invincible. It is so damn good. But I think you watched it. The only thing I think we have both not mentioned just yet. Oh, I did watch 1923 as well. Damn good. Give me more Pillar Share.
Around to that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But Daredevil Born Again.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No, I'm so far. Dude, I've been in class for the last year.
And
working full time.
Midterms are about to be up. Are you studying for a big test, or is the midterm about to end? What was it again?
So I've got to do the midterm that's coming up, and then I work more than full time, and shit, I commute 36 hours a month, and 32 hours a month, and then I got one more class, and I have the senior project in electrical engineering, and then I'm done, which will be into this summer, hopefully.
No, I probably shouldn't knock on wood in the middle of a.
It would be worse.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Well, when you have time to take your head out of the statistics book, I was trying to find a good little alliteration to math our way into Daredevil Born Again. Just check it out. It's so good. It's so good. You're gonna love it. Obviously,
will do.
Doctorates come first. And then nerdiness. But oh my God, you're gonna have to keep us posted when you do watch it, because you're gonna frickin' die for it. It's so good.
I will. Definitely will.
Somebody earlier said the CG was just a little iffy for him. I could see that. I don't think it's enough to take away from anything. I think it kind of adds to it. So far we haven't seen a whole bunch either, but oh my God, you get good story like you haven't got in the MCU in 7 years, 6, 7, 8 years. It's great. I started to watch it, but it got real CW vibes. Oh hell no, Peter. Just the dining room, just the diner conversation between Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox, as between Kingpin and Daredevil, that alone outshines every single piece of dialogue that has ever been put on CW. And there's some good pieces of dialogue. Where CW is, they've still had some good stuff. I mean, you've had Jeffrey Dean Morgan on there for a long time. You've had, even within the Arrowverse, there was good stuff. There's all kinds of other good shows on there that are decent. Nonetheless, that one conversation, better than anything that's ever been on the CW. Anything. So good. So good. But fight-wise, I kind of see what you're saying just because of the CG stuff. But, oh, my God. The story you get is going to be amazing. Hey-o. Just found out Charlie Cox is going to be shooting my birthday weekend. Mark, you got this. Go say howdy. Oh, Sarah, great point. The only Daredevil I've ever seen is the Ben Affleck one. Monk, I know you like quality stuff. The TV shows are worth it. Maybe not so much the Iron Fist and the Defenders shows. Probably worth it if you just are into all of it at that point. But, oh, my God, you'll enjoy Daredevil.
Yeah, that's the only, yeah.
Well, and we haven't gotten him yet. He's in the series. We know he's in the show. Is John Bernthal's Punisher. But they did announce this week that he's going to get like a special, just like they did for Guardians of the Galaxy for Christmas, and just like they did for Werewolf by Night, which I think is the best Marvel thing pound for pound overall. We're going to get a Punisher one-off, a special presentation. Stoked. But another thing that I'm stoked about, and the trailer was different. Did you have a chance to look up the Alien Earth trailer this morning?
Me or Sarah?
You.
No, I have not. I saw it a couple times. I just never got around to clicking on it.
It doesn't give you a bunch on first watch. I'm sure it gives you a whole bunch as you pause and actually look at what's going on. It was a really kind of a neat idea that I don't know if it's the best way to introduce, but it is a teaser. So I feel like the teaser is okay with it. They essentially start the trailer with, oh, hey, little buddy, and there's a cat on the space station they're at. I don't know if they put a little GoPro camera or what, but you get just little whiskers, and you get to follow the cat walking throughout the space station. And it's a really interesting little idea. And it's good. It's different. It's weird because you don't get a full trailer. You get the cuts of this cat wandering the ship, the space station that they're on. So there's not been like new information outside of probably what's on the TV screens. We did get to see 2 or 3 characters and a little bit about them, not a whole bunch, just kind of how they interact with it. But it was good. Sarah said she loves the cat cam. That's on the ship that crashes. Ooh. Oh, Sarah, real quick. How was Emerald City Comic Con? Yay, nay? Fun? Because I did get into Good Springs probably a little over 2 hours later than I wanted to yesterday. But Greg was working up a storm by the time I already got there. He knew everybody and had little fun. There was one guy that was 3D printing jet and mentats and other things like that, which are kind of drugs within inside the Fallout universe that help you like speed up or fight or slow down the world around you so you can fight better and all kinds of little different things. And this guy's 3D printing them and just handing them out to everybody. We wore a Great Con vest, which is just kind of just a faction inside the game. And because we got that, we got a bunch of free little 3D printed stuff, which was really fun. Is someone cat sitting for you? Yeah. My roommate was supposed to come with me, not the one that moved out. The other one was supposed to come with me this weekend, but had a doctor's appointment, so hung back and got to watch the cats. I was going to just let the neighbor do it. But,
Oh, well. Because if no one's watching the cats, it's going to be the cats will start swatting the neighbors just because they can.
Oh, my God. They got out the other day. That was a whole thing.
Well, dude, I've got to run. My time has expired here. So, hey, I want to thank everybody for showing up. And it's always good to see you guys. Always good to see you guys.
Yeah, thank you for hanging.
We have the smartest audience on YouTube. We just do.
Damn right. Last thing of housekeeping before we jump out of here.
Sure.
We've got Farscape's on tomorrow. Come watch Farscape. Well, obviously, Patreon members come watch Farscape with Sarah and I every Monday, 10:15 a.m. We're going through it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And so far, so good. That was also something I watched this week. First episode of Farscape. I think we're gonna shoot for the second and third. I think we're gonna go for 2. But we can talk about that and figure that out, Sarah. Yeah, y'all keep your eyes out for that from us. And Ash, sorry, here for Stargate news, or is that later? Just come on. Yeah, we feel the same. But you caught us on the tail end. We're jumping out like right now.
Yeah.
The Stargate stuff is like the first 25 to 28 minutes, I believe. And then we jump into Bond for another about a half hour after that as well. And we've been talking about what we watched for the week after that, et cetera, et cetera. YouTube members quest, I got to figure that out again. Ended up just, Good Springs and all this has taken the last day and a half kind of by storm. But we will have that hopefully figured out by the end of the day. I will probably leave here and head back to the old Los Angeles here in the next couple hours. And that when I get back, I can figure all that out. But
Drive safe, dude. Drive safe.
Oh my God. Yeah. I might take a nap before I drive. So I do drive safely. But that is it from us today.
Thank you, guys. See you next
Love
time.
y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Bye.
See y'all tomorrow for some Farscape, and have a great rest of your weekend.